Hey guys, 7th here. There's been some controversy in the community lately, and I thought who would be better to address it than me. Now, we've had videos from Black Bond, we've had videos from others. The gist of it is that HipHopGamer has in the past stated that he has 20,000 games in his collection. Now, that's a big feat. 20,000 games is a lot. Nobody would know that better than me. But here's the thing. All these people that are calling him frauds because he hasn't shown them, and he hasn't held up any cards to show them, and he makes this video, and in the video he has two cases sitting there. One has a monitor in it, and the other case he says he can't show what's in it, but what's in it proves that he has his 20,000 game collection. He then proceeds to play Batman Returns on Super Nintendo with the cheats turned on, and he's holding a Xbox controller. Now here's what this should tell you. What this should tell you is that HipHopGamer is a true old school hardcore gamer. Really? See this shit back here? This is what middle-aged losers with more money than common sense do. This isn't how a retro or hardcore or old school gamer games. Oh no. Oh no. If you want to be a real OG, if you want to be a real hardcore gamer, then all you need is some computer software know-how and about 100 to 150 bucks. And then you, sir or madam, can have a Coin-Op 7. Now wait, 7th, you may say, I'm sensing some bullshittery here, because that's clearly just an old school Xbox. But is it really? No, it's a Coin-Op 7. Here, come watch. Come on, come on. Turn it on, sir. Oh, but 7th, that says Xbox. Wait, just wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. Oh, come on, focus it. Oh, what's this? Interesting. There we go. Now, let's find... Where is it? It's in Applications, I think. No? Okay, let's go to Emulators then. Alright, there it is. Coin-Op 7 Massive. Alright. Now, this basically allows you to have every emulator ever, and every game ever made for every emulator ever, all on one system running at 720p via the component output on the Xbox. And so it has a little, as you can see, it's got a representation of all the arcade games. This is the reason that I own one of these personally, was because when I was a kid, my dream was to have a house with a basement so I could go and buy all my 8 favorite old arcade games, fix them up, and have my own arcade in my basement. Well, I grew up and ended up buying a house that didn't have a basement, so I only have room for a game collection. I don't have room for an arcade. So I built one of these so I could have the closest thing I could get to an arcade in my living room. I bought an arcade stick for the Xbox to try to get it as close to arcade experience as I could. And as you can see, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of stuff in here. Coin-Op 7 has 4,100 ROMs in it. And then I also have the emulator that has every NES game, every Super Nintendo game, every blah 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 blah, which I don't need, as you've seen the games behind me. But it's kind of nice for when you want to play a game that is out of your budget to ever get. Say, for example, Little Samson. You know, I can play Little Samson without actually owning it. It's, not the way I prefer to play it, but as opposed to paying $1,000 for a copy, it's the best I can do right now. But anyway, here's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. It was one of my favorite arcade games back in the day when I was a teenager. And let's just see what it looks like running on the Coin-Op 7. 8th, if you would, please. Alright, 8th. Start up a game. Let's turn the volume up a little bit.
Fire! Hang on, April.
And of course, I only have one arcade stick, but I do have multiple Xbox controllers, so you know, other people can join in and play along. It's I have both the 2-player version of this ROM and the 4-player version, so this is just one of 4,100 ROMs that I have on here, not including all the console ROMs that are on the other emulators. Now again, there's lots of console ROMs built into CoinOp 7.2 in addition to the separate emulators. So let's say, for example, we want to play Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. 8th, if you would, please. Now, the reason that I liked this game back when it came out for the Super Nintendo was it was so much better than the Sega Genesis one, which was a kind of generic and bland 2D platformer that almost all the graphics on it were different shades of purple and the music sucked. This one, it mixes a 2D kind of brawler with different elements from the actual movie, the scenes that were actually based on it, you know, and it's just a lot better than the Genesis one. Hell, it's better than the Sega CD one that included racing scenes in it with the car. But the other reason that I liked it was because it was the closest that I was going to get back then, before there were arcade emulators, to playing the original Batman arcade game that came out when the first movie came out. So it's a great little ROM. It's not an overly expensive cartridge. It doesn't cost that much. It's probably what you would call a semi-uncommon. I've seen them in stores. They're not that expensive. They're not that hard to find. But it's a great game, especially if you like that Final Fight style of game. But there you go. I mean, if you're going to play a Super Nintendo game, this is the way to do it, because on top of not having to take up space on your game shelf, you can also turn on cheats. You can enable cheats where you don't lose any life and you have infinite lives and so on and so forth, where you can just, it's almost like you're not even playing the game. You're just kind of interactively walking through it. That's right. The CoinOp 7 allows you to take Super Nintendo games and turn them into walking simulators, because that's how real old school gamers do it. See, a real old school gamer never would have even played those games when they were new. No. A real old school gamer cares about old school and experiencing old school for the first time. So they make videos playing games that they never played before when they were new, and that's why they have to play them with cheats turned on. For a true hardcore gamer, it's preferable to play the game digitally so you can turn all the cheats on, since you've never actually played the game before, as opposed to owning original carts with no cheats, where you had to actually learn how to play the game. In fact, that is a class of gamer that goes beyond old school gamer, that goes beyond hardcore, that goes beyond retro for life. No, there's only one word for that type of gamer in the English language: fraud.